You didn't survive by being loud. You survived by being quiet, by watching instead of speaking, by sensing instead of asking, by learning when to disappear. No one told you to do this. No one sat you down and explained the rules. You learned them the way all children do, through consequences. You noticed when the room tightened. You noticed when emotions caused problems. You noticed which version of you was tolerated, so you adapted. You learned how to make yourself small, how to take up less emotional space, how to stay out of the way without being asked. This is silent survival. Not dramatic, not heroic, just necessary. And here is the paradox that still governs your life. What once kept you safe is now keeping you lonely. Silence protected you then, but now it costs you connection. You learned to endure without complaint, to regulate yourself without support, to carry fear, sadness, confusion, and longing quietly, so quietly that even you stopped hearing them. And when you grew up, everyone mistook this for strength. But inside, something never stopped bracing. Silent survival is not a personality trait. It is a nervous system strategy. It often begins in environments marked by emotional neglect, not necessarily cruelty, but absence. Caregivers may have been overwhelmed, unavailable, volatile, or dismissive. Emotional expression didn't lead to comfort. It led to nothing, or worse. So the child adapts. One mechanism is hypervigilance. Your nervous system becomes finely tuned to subtle shifts. Tone changes, facial expressions, energy in the room. You learn to predict rather than express. Another is parentification. You become emotionally self-reliant too early. Sometimes, you even manage the emotions of adults around you, learning that your role is to stabilize, not to be stabilized. Over time, avoidant attachment develops. Closeness feels risky because closeness requires vulnerability, and vulnerability, in your early experience, led to loss of control. Neurologically, your default mode network, the system responsible for your internal sense of self, organizes around survival instead of exploration. The question is no longer, who am I, but how do I stay safe? Your emotions don't disappear, they go underground. This creates adults who function exceptionally well under pressure and struggle deeply with intimacy, rest, and self-recognition. The greatest cost of silent survival is not pain, it is erasure. You learn to trade authenticity for acceptance, to filter yourself before you were ever fully formed, to suppress needs before they could be rejected. Carl Jung warned that what is denied expression does not vanish. It becomes fate. Your fate became endurance. You feel deeply, but privately. You struggle quietly, but competently. You ache invisibly, but persistently. Seneca wrote that the greatest slavery is self-imposed, and this is not a dramatic prison, it's a polite one. Rilke spoke of the necessity of living openly with one's questions, but you learned to bury yours, because unanswered questions once felt dangerous. Your core fear is not rejection, it is exposure, because exposure once meant instability, so you stay composed, even when you are exhausted, especially when you are exhausted. Your grief has no witnesses, your strength has no rest. Children who learned silent survival do not stop surviving when they grow up. They become adults who, you might struggle in relationships, choosing emotional distance over vulnerability, or partners who feel familiar in their unavailability. You might excel in careers, becoming reliable, irreplaceable, quietly overextended, confusing self-worth with endurance. You might struggle with boundaries, either over-accommodating or disappearing when needs arise. Emotionally, you regulate through suppression. You remain calm on the outside, while tension accumulates inside the body. Your self-worth may depend on usefulness rather than existence. Your identity may feel diffuse. You know how to adapt to others, but not how to anchor yourself. These are not failures. They are adaptations that never received an update. Unlearning begins with awareness, with recognizing that silence was once protection, but is no longer required everywhere. You don't need to abandon strength. You need to redefine it. Strength is no longer endurance. It is discernment. Healing silent survival is not about becoming loud. It's about becoming safe to yourself. Inner child work allows you to return to the moment you learned that silence was necessary and to offer that child something new, permission. Shadow work helps you reclaim the needs, anger, grief, and longing that were suppressed for survival. Nervous system regulation teaches your body that expression does not equal danger, and that rest does not equal collapse. And slowly, carefully, you practice being seen without disappearing. Here is the truth that changes everything. You were not strong because you were silent. You were silent because you had to be strong. You don't heal by erasing survival. You heal by adding safety. The goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole. If this resonated, share it with someone who learned to survive quietly. And if you want to continue exploring the psychology beneath silence and strength, stay here. Subscribe. Some children survive by disappearing. Healing begins when they are finally allowed to exist.